And now live. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Sports Group Podcast. As we are here with Jamie to talk some softball. Jamie, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Obviously, we're gonna get straight into it. First question: why Iona? What made you kind of come here? Was it always for softball? Was it academics? And what are the schools you had if you had offers for softball?
Yeah. I think what no, you're good. I think what got me to look at Iona was definitely softball, and a lot of the schools that I was looking at was softball. For softball. When it came down to it, Iona had like good academics, and then scholarship and softball came together. It was just like what fit. And I knew I wanted to go for business, and Iona was known for more of its business side, and it was closer to the city. The other school that I was primarily looking at, I had a couple other, but the biggest one was probably Providence. And when it came down to it, a lot of the academics were similar, and honestly, the campus was similar. I know Iona was, like, at that time when I was looking, uh, upgrading a lot of its equipment, and so was Providence, so it was kinda cool. It just came down to, being closer to the city, honestly, and honestly being closer to my house. I'm, like, an hour and a half away, so that's pretty cool, and I knew that I wanted to work more in New York City than going all the way up to, Rhode Island, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you have like any New Jersey schools, like whether it was Max or not, trying to get you?
I did have an interest in, like, Seton Hall for a while, but when I looked at, like, Monmouth and, not really Rutgers, because Rutgers was having, like, when I was looking at it, Rutgers was having a problem with their softball program, so it's kind of like, stay away from that area.
Yeah.
But, Monmouth was, like, a little bit, but I wasn't too interested in Monmouth. Honestly, Monmouth is only, like, 30 minutes away from my house, so it's kind of like a
Too
yeah,
close.
too close.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think I would enjoy my time there, but Seton Hall was, like, my freshman, sophomore year, and then I kind of moved on from then, so yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear. So obviously, I know that with a lot of different sports, is different preparations for game days. Obviously, for us with basketball, we have a lot of scouts, whether it's paper scouts with stats and also watching film. For you specifically, obviously, with you being a catcher and still a hitter, how do you kind of prepare before a game? Because not only do you have to kind of call the game, you also again have to hit. So how do you kind of prepare for game days?
As a team, we all scout, so we get a scouting report done by our coaches, and then we also do film, so it's kind of different the way that we watch film. It's just certain plays, usually our coaches will go through, like, the whole game first and find points of what should they wanna, like, point out. So, for instance, if they're stealing, like, how they steal, when they're stealing, if it's on a certain pitch, if there's, like, a pattern with their play, if they bunt in certain situations, if they know, like, are they a running team? So it's kind of different things like that when we watch film. Scattering report is statistics and looking at
Yeah.
numbers. We also have, like, different programs that we use and, apps that allow us to see, like, the spray chart of where people hit primarily. So it'll be, like, a specific player, and we could see, are they, like, a pull hitter, meaning they more hit to the left side, or do they keep everything and hit opposite if they're righty to the right side? Um, so it's interesting, I would say. But for me specifically, I mean, hitting, we look at pitchers, we look at what they throw, what type of pitches they have. For catching, I don't get to call the game really. It's my coach. She is a pitching coach more now, so she's calling the game more. She kind of wants the catchers to get into it somewhat, but she's still like learning to like trust that, especially. But the way that she knows it is, again, she looks at the batters, what they're good at hitting. If again, let's say they're pull hitter, she's not pitching them inside, or maybe she is, but she's wants to jam them on their hands to get them to chase, you know?
I didn't.
So,
I kind of
yeah.
like remember. I kind of heard a little bit about that, but I did forget that is more of the coach kind of calling the game. But like, there's never been like a game where majority of the time you're calling the game. Like, it's always coaches that's calling it.
Yeah, especially with, the new coach, it's like coaches. We did have a pitching coach prior, like my freshman year, who's Darren, and he called, and it's I think it's kind of like the trust in some aspect. I was a freshman at that time, so I never really got to call, and then the new coach came in, and I didn't really have the opportunity, so it kind of, has always just been the coaches, and sometimes it's better that way because then the blame isn't necessarily on the pitcher or,
The catcher
the
calling,
catcher,
yeah.
it's on the coach, you
It's probably
know?
less stress maybe for you,
Yeah,
calling it.
what it could be easier for me calling though sometimes because you could look at stats, but, with the game of softball or baseball, a player could hit it if they just time it right, you know? So
Yeah,
at any time, you could hit the ball, and it could be a pitch that you've never hit. But it's kind of easier for a catcher to see a person swing, especially, like, being right there, seeing if they're dropping their hands, if they're, taking the pitch correctly, like, maybe they're chasing that up ball or getting that change up, like, they're not getting it. So, yeah, I mean, it just depends, but yeah, I don't really call the game and, um, I'm kind of, like, okay with that. I mean, I would like to call a game if she
yeah.
wants me to, so just depends.
So obviously, I'm pretty sure that every hitter, every at bat, you kind of have some type of game plan. Obviously, for whatever pitch is being called. You ever had an instance where maybe you're noticing something? You kind of talk to coach, like maybe we should call more of this because I don't know the pitcher that I'm obviously catching isn't throwing this pitch well, or this hitter swinging more on this. Like you ever had multiple instances like that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's probably every game. We talk in between innings all the time. That's, like, the biggest thing is that after every inning, I'm like, "This is working, this is not. This girl is going to hit this ball, and this girl's not." It's primarily on more of what's working with the pitcher and what's not working with the pitcher, so that's, like, important, um, because I have to communicate with her, like, maybe the pitcher could say it's working, but at the end of the day, I'm really seeing the ball.
Mm,
So I always talk to, like, my coach. I'm like, "I would just watch calling this," and I would just, like, tell her, like, we need to tell her, like, the pitcher. Um, a big thing is, like, with at least 2 strikes and you're ahead in the count, you have to put that ball off the plate more, but make it a believable strike. So, like, that's something I always try to communicate.
yeah.
But I mean, it just depends on the situation. So, yeah.
With obviously you playing catcher, and I've seen you play first base a few times, and then obviously everyone could DH. Do you kind of prefer a specific position more than the
Yeah.
other?
Um, I love being a catcher. I wish I could catch, like, every game. It's not the healthiest for my, like, legs, so that's
Yeah,
why it's like I have to DH or go to another position. Honestly, I probably won't be playing first this year that much, if maybe not at all. I'm gonna be moving to the right field, so if I play so, yeah, I'm
really.
gonna be a
I didn't
right
even know
fielder,
that.
yeah. I've been practicing there if I, go anywhere. I did play outfield when I was, like, in, uh travel ball, like, a couple
Yeah,
times, but it wasn't, like, a thing, and then I played first base, so I think the biggest thing is if they wanna keep me in the lineup, the coaches, that they can move me to another position if I can't catch 2 games in a day or if, like, whatever the case is, maybe they wanna save me, so I guess I have options. So, yeah, I mean, the DH is, like, another option too, so
that's interesting. I didn't even know that you played outfield.
yeah.
That was kind of gonna be my next question, like how many, or not how many, what positions you played in high schools, but obviously you revealed that. Obviously they do need you in the lineup because from what I can recall, the last 2 years, you're always like a 300 hitter, probably one of the top two, top three best power hitters on our team. Definitely in the conference top 10 or top five. And so you're kind of like a big presence. You can't really like not play you. So it's kind of
Yeah,
good that they're doing that. Do you
thank you.
feel comfortable so far kind of practicing right field, or is it like kind of
Yes,
a challenge?
I think my coach knows my strength and weaknesses out there, and, with the way that I'm gonna play, she's gonna know when to put me in certain situations, so I think if she knows the pitcher and how the pitcher usually pitches to, certain teams and how they usually hit off her, she's not probably gonna put a pitcher in where they're primarily hitting to right field, do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
or where I'm gonna get a lot of balls that day. So, I mean, I think it's a certain situation type idea if I'm gonna be playing there, but, uh, yeah, I think I'm confident in it. I can't, like, say I'm not,
Yeah,
it's
no.
definitely not easy. After
Yeah.
practicing I think people think that outfield's easy, it's definitely not.
No, it's not. Tracking the ball is pretty
Oh,
like hard to
yeah,
do.
Um, but yeah, if you could keep me behind the plate, I probably would. I love catching. It's so much better. Yeah.
So did you guys get like a lot of freshman catchers that they switched the positions, or
So we actually have one freshman catcher this year and then a sophomore catcher. She's a transfer. So
mm,
we're
logjam at
a
that
a
position?
big staff now,
Yeah,
supposedly. Well, not supposedly. Compared to last year, I should say,
yeah,
because last year was the two of us, and
yeah.
then it
You
was
and
kind
her.
of tough. But definitely this year we have like we're deep with our staff, so that's good. I like that and like more confident in it,
Mhm.
strong catchers. That's the biggest thing. I think that's good.
Yeah, that's what
So
I was gonna kind of lead into because you mentioned last year. Obviously with last year, I thought it was a really great team. I remember the only weakness I kept repeating was the base running, and I want to say I remember you guys had a little preseason kind of first semester, and then of course you guys have practice already. I know the season hasn't started, but so far from what you've seen, what were kind of the big differences from last year and this year? What were some things that you felt that improved on so far? Maybe they need improvement.
I think our base running did improve so far. I
Hmm.
can't speak that into existence of like because we haven't played like our true season yet, but that's our biggest thing and I think that like my coach even recognized that like we need to take that extra base. So what we've been doing is like practicing just being aggressive no matter what it is, you know?
Hmm.
So even if we get out in that situation, she's going to take it. She'd rather have that than us be a base behind, you know, of what
That's
we
true.
could have
Yeah.
had. So in game situations it's going to change probably. But practicing taking that extra base because I think one thing with the base running is that we always kind of hold ourselves back because we don't want to get that out, but I don't think people understand how hard it is truly to like with that runner on first and it's a ball to right field, how hard it is to make that throw to third on like without a hop. Also to like be able to catch that and tag it in like the right
Yeah.
spot while a girl is running her full speed to get to that bag. Especially with a slide, like
Hmm.
I think we are gonna have a better advantage of taking like advantage of more bags this year, so base running should improve, I would say. Besides from that, I think it's like the staying in the game definitely has improved too. I think we're like excited to play and wanting to play, and like I don't think we've really had a problem with that. So that's like another thing that wasn't a problem. But um, like looking back on like last season, we kind of have like this like revenge look at it, kind of. So
Yeah, because you guys
it's
like really performed. In my opinion, at least in the playoffs, I
oh
thought
yeah,
you guys were gonna kind of go like farther. And I did watch the. I can't remember. It was two games in one day, and I think both of those games were losses. So you guys got eliminated. The first
yeah,
game I think was Kara was pitching,
Canisius,
and then the second game I think Sammy was pitching.
yes,
Obviously, I think your guys' coach did an amazing job all year. The team did great. And again, she's from what she took from that team all the way to how you guys progressed was amazing. So I'm not trying to bash her, but I did think that maybe Sammy should have pitched the first game and Kara should have pitched the second because the way I looked at it, obviously from a fan watching, was that you had to lose two games to get out, and if you won one of those days, you were going to the championship. So the way I
yes,
looked at it was, if you guys hypothetically had Samantha pitching the first game, and let's say you won, you have Kara now pitching for the championship game. You have her saved up. But if all goes wrong, you lose the first game. Now you have Kara for the like last game, the do or die. And then obviously playing her first so early, you couldn't really have her available for the second, which I think did play a role. Because I think it was like what 1-0 the first game lost. Like it was literally one
yes. It was
pitch.
no, it was 2-1.
Oh, it's 2-1.
Yes, yeah, yeah, that first loss of,
That hurt.
uh, the playoffs was tough. That was a tough game because it was Canisius who was the number 1 seed,
Yeah.
and when we lost them in season, I think we got mercied in season, and, um, so that was a tough loss, yeah, because we kept in that game, and I think everybody was hitting, it's on
That was an
n
amazing
well,
game. Like
we weren't,
watching.
like, hitting too much, that was the thing, it was, like, they called it, like, a pitcher's duel, and then that 7th top of the 7th, I hit like a pop-up and the girl pushed it over the fence. That's basically what happened, so I got the home run, and I didn't even know that it happened because I it was an outside pitch and I just completely pulled and I was like, "Ugh."
When did you
But,
realize it was out? Like,
when I was rounding first base, I looked at the first base coach, Darren, and he, like, had his hands up, and he was like, "Oh," and I was like, "No way." So then we were all, like, freaking out, um and I think we had people on base after that, so we were like, "This is gonna go," and then it was 1-0, and we got in, and, um, we got 2 outs, nobody on, and then it just kind of, like, folded from there, but it was tough because we were riding Kara the whole time,
Oh
and I
yeah.
mean, that definitely was I understand that, it's tough because Kara's also the, like, oldest pitcher, so she has experience, like, compared to like, the next oldest pitcher is in, like, a junior right now, so
Yeah.
she's a graduate, so last year was a sophomore, you know? Um, I think also nobody was hitting Kara, so it was
No, she was like
"Let's ride
an
her."
ace.
Yeah,
I
like,
remember.
ride her till we can't, and then, yeah, I mean after that, we're definitely and then the second game, it kind of just it happened. I
No,
think
yeah.
that first loss, we took it as, like, we lost, and then we kinda came back in that first game. We started out hot. I think it was 4-0, and then it became 4-4, and then it became 7-4.
Yeah.
So it was just like a build up, and that last game, I don't think we played at all to our potential, but it was tough after that long weekend. Also playing that game in the morning,
Mhm.
so, um yeah, I mean, it's but that's what's, like, pushing us this year. We all know how we felt after that,
Yeah.
and I think it's, like, even funny for the freshmen to be like, "We were watching that game, that's how we felt." So, it's kind of, like, good to know that everybody has, like, the same, um,
Kind of like
goals for
feeling,
the end of the
yeah.
year,
No.
yeah, and, like,
I
that feeling, yeah, it won't leave, that's another thing, so
No, I agree with you on that. And honestly, the last two seasons of playoffs has probably been one of the most fun games I've watched because regular season games are fun. I'm not gonna say they're not, but like you feel the difference in a playoff game.
Oh,
Like the atmosphere
definitely.
feels different. Because I remember, might have been like COVID year, my sophomore year. It was yeah, it was like 2 years ago. Those games were kind of like competitive and fun, and then last year was great. And I'm really excited for this season, and I really do hope you guys obviously go all the way. And with this being your third season, I believe your first year you won Rookie of the Year, right?
Yes.
And then last year, again, you performed amazing. How do you get better personally, you as a hitter, whether it's hitting for more contact or more power, or like if you again defensively, like how do you get better in those aspects?
Yeah, so I think for hitting for me, my goals basically for like the idea of getting better is just always kind of like getting a little bit better. Like so even if it's by one, that's getting better.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the goal. So my RBIs, I hope it goes up by at least one. Batting percentage, like, one. Not necessarily one because you
No,
know
I
how
know
that
you.
works, but
Yeah.
like a little bit better. I hope my strikeouts go down, like that kind of idea. Catching, same thing. I hope just my numbers go up, and I think it's like they're both done by just constantly practicing. Kind of that muscle memory, and that's hard during the season because you can't practice as much. It's kind
Yeah.
of like with softball and like our schedule,
Yeah.
it's 4 games on the weekend, probably 2 games during the week, and then we're going back to 4 games on the weekend.
Yeah, that's even
Um,
how it is in baseball. Like that's why I
yeah,
love baseball more than any other sport because with basketball, like for at least us, we have 2 games a week and you can practice all week. Football is
yeah,
1 game a week, practice all week. Baseball, softball is almost every day, so you don't have time. And I'm not saying I don't like practice, but kind of always prefer games. Like even in high
yeah.
school, like games are always way more fun than practice. Practice is not fun. So with you only having games and less practice is fun, but it is hard to like
Yeah,
improve.
it's, like, definitely, a toll on the body, I would say, but that's where, like, the factor comes in of, like, training hard now
Mhm.
and then, like, using it during the season, because, again, like, we won't have that much practice. I mean, we have the 4 games on the weekend, we have that Monday off, we have now games on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and then Thursday, Friday is technically practice or travel days, it depends, um, but, I mean by getting better, it's just recognizing where I'm, like, having the mistakes and then doing my muscle memory, like, drills. For catching, it's like it's not even working too hard like, for throwing down, for instance, it's just doing the throwdowns,
Mhm.
like, going through I will sit there and catch balls and do my transfers, like, that type of idea if that's where I'm slow or, um, I'll be in the position of, like, throwing and, like, not throw too hard, but getting that right muscle memory idea. Hitting, for me, I just like to take swings. I don't think I am a I mean, everybody can improve from drills, that's, like, another thing, but I need to be swinging,
So is it
like, a
like
lot.
a pitcher throwing to you and you swinging off of that or off the tee? Like, how do you kind of, or maybe a machine too? Like, what do you?
I think anything, but I like front toss or
Oh,
my
okay.
coach does, like, a pitching motion, and it comes out a little like, obviously not as fast as, like, a pitcher in a game would be.
Hmm.
It's, like, the perfect speed to have batting practice, just kind of that idea. But even, like, front toss or I'll do T work. I think that's, like, the best thing to start with and, like, kinda get the idea, but, yeah, just getting at bats and, like, uh, live isn't too bad. It's just it's tough when live's, like, good to work on when you're, like, preseason, like, that's the best thing to work on preseason. During season, I don't wanna see too much of, like, live because 'cause I'm already playing so many games. I
Yeah.
just need to see myself hitting that ball, like,
Okay. Yeah.
um, just kinda get that visualization of, like, "Okay, this is what I'm doing." Um, so, yeah, that's how I plan to get better, and, again, like, my goals are just to have that one better of everything. Yeah,
So what? Obviously you're still kind of young because you're a junior. You still have next season. I'm not sure if you have the COVID
I don't
year.
have a COVID year, yeah,
Okay,
unfortunately.
so obviously you have this season and then next season. So it is a little early, but as of right now, what would you say are your kind of goals slash plans after Iona, if you even have thought about it yet?
Yeah, so, I'm accounting and finance major, like,
Mm-hmm.
double major. So I actually have a couple internships. So I have an internship this summer with accounting, and then next winter into, like it's from, like, January to March, I have an internship with Ernst& and Young for accounting. So I'm pretty excited about that, but pretty much after college, I plan to sit for the CPA and then go on from for probably having a job while sitting for the CPA and, like, taking the test, and going on from there and, like, going into accounting and then finance probably. Uh, don't really see a future with softball too much after. I mean, I think I'm still gonna maybe do some things here and there, but not too much of play at all. I don't think that's really a goal, yeah. But
You never thought about like maybe doing some work of accounting for maybe MLB team?
oh, absolutely, I thought about like, the Yankees, like, I
Yeah.
would love to do that. I think one of the biggest things I was, like, looking for when I look for internships is, like, I'll always search, like, NBA internships or
Yeah, like
MLB because
sports
a
ones,
lot of
yeah.
it is in New York, so,
Yeah.
again, that's like, we're so close to it, so there'd be, like, a place to go for that. If I have that opportunity, I would probably take that over, like, a corporate,
Mhm.
but, I mean, anything. I just wanna, like, kind of especially starting out work, I wanna, like, get into the field and kinda get used to it and get experience behind my name, and then, um, I feel like it'll be easier to then choose after I have some experience behind everything, yeah, you know?
Did you ever join there was a Zoom meeting, I joined it. It was like one of the representative of the Yankees, one of the people from Overtime, and someone else from MLB. It was like maybe last semester. I don't
For
think
LaPenta, right?
yeah, you weren't able to
No, I think
get that?
it was spring semester, right?
It was just last semester, I
Oh,
know.
last semester?
Yeah.
So, the thing is, sometimes I was, like I was really involved with the LaPenta like, the I was on the dean advisory board, like, last year,
Mhm.
and I was always like, "Yes, like, get a lot of activities," and then when the activities come, it's tough because sometimes it's during activity hour, but we have practice during activity
Oh,
hour
yeah.
sometimes, and then also if they're at night, we have to change for a night class, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind of,
true.
like, back and forth, but when I get the opportunity to go to things like that, I definitely do.
Yeah, and so you
So
could
yeah.
have met some of the people, like, they were like the Yankees guy, his name was Dan, he's so cool.
Mhm.
I, like, emailed him and still talk to him through LinkedIn, and then the MLB, worker was great, like, that could have been a kinda
Yeah,
cool, funny
definitely a
thing.
network, yeah. I mean, I will probably try in the future to see if I could do anything with that, maybe, yeah. But it would really be cool. I would love to do, like, finances for, um, like, some type of, like, sports team, maybe even, like, a college, that would be nice, so,
Yeah,
like
that
a yeah.
smart, idea and goal kinda again, since you being a junior, you still have a lot of time, and it's great that you're planning kind of ahead of that. but I'm pretty sure you kind of already mentioned it. I was gonna ask like a favorite team and why for MLB, which I'm pretty sure is the Yankees.
Yes.
When did that love kind of go for you? Like when did you start watching them and why them?
So my dad actually doesn't like any like he doesn't have a favorite team at all except for the Yankees. So I was like that obviously pushed me where I like wanted to love a baseball team. And then as I started getting into like softball, it became like more of like I love the Yankees. Um and then also like I had just like my whole family love the Yankees, like my grandpa, like big Yankees fan. Um and then some of my family were like Mets fans, so that's kind of like that rival little
Rivalry,
thing.
yeah.
But I mean, that's pretty much where it came from, and then I yeah, it wasn't too much of the Phillies, I mean, or the Mets, because it's just, like, the Yankees were always better, that's, like, what everybody knew them for, like,
Yeah.
championships and everything, and then Derek Jeter, how could you, like, not like him,
Yeah, he was an
so
amazing player,
mhm.
300 hitter and all that, and then
Yeah,
always a winning player. And
definitely.
obviously, I was also gonna mention like with you being a Yankees fan, it doesn't even have to be a Yankees player. Maybe it is, but did you always have like a favorite player and like why that player or players?
Yeah, I mean, I like Derek Jeter, but when I, like, would watch kinda so my catching coach actually was a catcher for the Red Sox, but he didn't, like he was only on, like, a triple A, I think he, like, was getting close to the MLB, but he was affiliated with the Red Sox organization, so it's pretty cool. Um, he would always have me watch Yadier Molina, and
Hmm.
that's who I watched if I had to, like, look after any player, because obviously he was a catcher, and then he was, like, all around, like, I feel like a great player. So,
Great
but
leader.
for his catching, that's where I, like, learned how to, like, throw down and just kind of, like, the idea of everything. I would, like, have to watch his drills right before our catching,
Hmm.
um, like, lessons, and then I would go through, like, some of the things that he would, like, teach me, but the biggest thing was the transfer, and, like, that's what I caught up on, I feel like, so, like, I'm fast with my transfers, so that's, like, pretty cool. But yeah, that's definitely, like, if I didn't have to go with, like, a Yankee player, it'd be Yadier Molina, yeah.
No, it's really a cool story. I remember you mentioned that once, and I've like seen him kind of how he calls games, and you
Yeah,
rarely see pitchers kind of shake him off. And I've seen clips where the times that they actually do, it's a hit, and it's like you got to trust me. That's why he's a vet. Obviously, with you being a Yankee fan, I've seen you at some of the games last year. I think it was one. How many kind of stadiums have you been to, and like what was it kind of your favorite? Like you just loved it.
I've only been to 2, I haven't been to the Mets, I was gonna go to a Mets game, actually, but I, couldn't go, and then, um I've been to the Yankees and then Philly stadium. The Philly, I didn't even actually go for a game. I went for, like, a charity event, so I was able to, like, see the stadium, and I was, like, right behind home plate, so it was really cool.
Hmm.
Um, but Yankee Stadium has to be, like, my favorite, if anything,
Really?
because I didn't even like really the setup of Philly. Like, I know they say Yankee Stadium's, like, kinda small with the right field the ball and everything,
Yeah, short
but
porch.
even, like, behind the plate I got a tour of, Yankee Stadium actually once, like, I went with, like, my dad and my one cousin and everything, it was pretty cool, and we were, like, in that area behind, like, home plate, and it just seemed so much, like, bigger, the backstop not even the backstop, I would say, but, like, just, like, looking out, and then when I was behind in Philly, it didn't look as big, it was kind of, like, compact that way, um, but yeah, definitely Yankee Stadium, I mean, yeah,
No, yeah, obviously with all history. I'm gonna be honest. I've been to Yankee Stadium, City Field, because obviously, I get a lot of free tickets for both games.
Mhm,
So hopefully, obviously, we can get you to some if
yeah.
the schedule doesn't conflict. I've been to the Nationals stadium. It was like a spring training game versus the Yankees, actually. It was for like a school trip. I went to Tampa for their game versus the Yankees regular season, and I never been to Philly or Baltimore, and I plan on hopefully going to both of those this summer whenever they play the Yankees. But in my opinion, the best stadium I've been to has to be Citi Field. Citi Field is way like, and
I
I'm a
heard
Yankees
it's
fan, so like
I
you would
heard
think I'm biased, but
yeah.
Citi Field is way better of a stadium. It's so beautiful, seeing the stadium. But I definitely want to say that a lot of people like to bash Tampa Bay Stadium for some reason. I thought it was beautiful when I went. It was like
The
obviously,
inside, right?
yeah, like I
Yeah,
loved it because of the dome, and I wish Yankee Stadium had a dome because there's so many rainouts, and that's so
yeah.
annoying. So like I don't know, it just felt great being in Tampa. Like when I went for vacation and went to the game, right? It was so great. And obviously with you being in different like stadiums and arena, we'll kind of go back to the softball. What would you say is your favorite MAC away place and non-conference kind of stadium you've been to in your 2 3 years?
Yeah. Ooh, Mac away. I think I would say Fairfield. They have like a gravel type dirt, but it's hard. I feel like everywhere else has kind of a, or maybe Ryder. The only problem with Ryder is that they have like grass, their grass divots are kind of like high, so it's like tough kind of playing, but I do like their like field. They have like a nice actual like little stadium. But same thing with Fairfield. I feel like Fairfield has like a very similar field. So those two fields are, I like them the best. If we're home, obviously I like playing at home, you know. So if I had to include Iona, I would say Iona right now because the turf is so much like
Mhm.
better. Playing out of conference, oof.
'Cause I know you guys had a few tournaments, like, what was probably your favorite, like, not just experience, like, the field itself that just felt beautiful and felt great to play in?
So last year would probably be my first year. The problem was that we had like a lot of, well, for the Mercer in Georgia, it was raining. So it was kind of like a terrible situation with the outfield, but I think if it didn't rain, that would have been a better field than Campbell because I did like Campbell. Campbell was like a really nice also secluded and like very much a nice field. And I think they did have turf too, so I did like their field better. So, I mean, yeah, I would go with Campbell because of the turf.
So if you compared, let's say, that field with whether it's Fairfield or, I forgot the other one, you Ryder and Iona, which one would you prefer out of all of those?
Probably the Campbell
Oh,
because, Iona would be first out of all because I do like playing it's a different feeling playing home. I mean, like the field,
probably have an
obvious
advantage because you know, like, where to,
yes, yeah, with playing it, everything, yeah. I mean, Marist is kind of nice. Marist, I don't like their field per se because they don't have the greatest, dirt or outfield, but they have a short fence, so that's really nice.
Yeah,
That's,
I
like,
was
pretty
gonna ask that.
cool,
Is there
so
like a place, even if it's Iona, that has like a really short, whether
I
it's
think
left field or right field?
I think Marist has, like, 190. Every other field is, like, 200, and I think I might be wrong on that, but Marist has a short fence, which is nice, but our fence has the deepest fence. We are, like, 210, 225.
I didn't know we had the I was
Yeah.
gonna also ask that, like, where's our kind of spot that's,
Our fence is really far, I would say. I can't remember exactly where it was. I think actually they messed it up one time and they put it like 240. It was like crazy. That might be like really insane. But um it's hard because with our concrete in the back,
mhm,
it lines like the whole thing, but the whole thing is in our field. Like, so the turf pushes back like all the way back to a corner and we don't put our fence back there. So our fence like at least comes in like 20 feet. So sometimes they put it all the way back to the concrete and it doesn't like line up with anything. So
yeah.
um but our fence is the deepest, but it's kind of like if you're not hitting it out, you're hitting the fence, and when you hit our fence, it bounces off the fence, so people don't know how to necessarily play it off our fence, which is kind of also funny. We're similar to Canisius because
Mhm.
that's the type of fence that they have also, but when it hits off that fence, it'll bounce back in. I think, like, I'm not the fastest runner, but in the fall, I had a triple because I hit a ball to right center, it hit the top of the fence and bounced so far in that it went back to, like, the second baseman, like, on
Damn,
the
and they
turf,
weren't even
yeah.
able to catch it,
No,
kinda.
because I was already at second, you know? So,
Yeah.
it was interesting, but yeah, Iona has definitely one of the better well, definitely probably the best field in the MAC now because we have that new turf, so,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
obviously gonna mention that we were talking about it earlier, last year from this year field kinda, is that one of the main reasons that you like this year's more than last year's because of the turf, or
Absolutely,
is there something
yeah.
else that kinda
The turf is definitely a big help. I am a turf player, I think I like it better. I like clay
Mhm,
when we play on dirt.
yeah,
When we play in, dirt up in the Northeast, it's tough because it's either rock hard and more gravel like
Mhm.
I was saying at Fairfield, or even even like Fordham has like a rock type gravel type sand for their dirt. But when you play on turf, it's so much easier to go to a dirt field, and you wouldn't think that so much, but it's so much. It's like when you play from dirt to turf, it's so much harder to like alchemy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
practice on everything like that. So yeah, I definitely think that that's gonna be an advantage for us because we also have, I mean, you have Canisius who has an all turf field, and Manhattan, right?
Mhm.
But their turf is, like, definitely older, so they're not used to that, like, our new turf, and it's a softball turf, so that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. I was gonna ask the final question. Obviously, still being sports related, not too much softball MLB, but I know that obviously you're a Yankees fan, so you do love sports, and you mentioned some NBA. Do you kind of watch or have favorite other sports or teams, like whether it's NBA or NFL?
Not really with any, I mean, sometimes I watch hockey,
Mm,
and I'll watch, like, the Rangers, but that's pretty much it. I'll if they're on TV. But I'll watch, like, college softball when, like, we especially when we start, 'cause I mean, last weekend was opening weekend, and from now till next week, there's gonna be so many more games, and we'll have the opportunity to watch them, so that'll be pretty cool. But besides from that, I mean, I don't really get into much besides the MLB because I feel like that's just much more, like,
yeah.
entertaining to me than the NBA sometimes, so
No, yeah, I could see where you come from that. Did
yeah.
you, before you got Tyona, have like a favorite college softball team?
Ooh, um,
Because I know for me, I had a favorite college basketball team, and it was Duke. I was a huge Duke fan, and
yeah.
then when I got here, like for some reason, I didn't force to stop liking them. I just generally was so busy that I didn't watch as much, and I just became an Iona fan. Obviously, not the cliche of because you're here, but I don't know. I was like I didn't enjoy watching them as I used to before I went to college. I don't know if you kind of had the same experience.
I mean, I like just watching, like, any bigger team, like, but when before Iona, it was, like, Washington was in, like, a big place for them, so that was pretty cool to see them because I think they were, at the time, not one of the bigger schools and then got into being a bigger school. Um, they so it wasn't that they were my favorite team, but I was always rooting for, like, that kind of underdog.
Mm,
JMU that one year, like, went far,
mm,
and, that was kind of an upset, so when things like that happen, that's when I focus more on it.
yeah.
But nothing too specific about having a favorite team. If anything, I would be like, "Oh, I don't want, like, Alabama, who's, like, really good, to, like, win. I would rather have, like, this other team win," you know? So,
Like the upsets.
yes, yeah, definitely. That's what I would, like, focus on, not too much of a favorite. So, yeah.
Cool. I definitely appreciate you coming out
Yeah,
today,
thank
and
you.
I do hope you guys not only win the MAC championship, but obviously have a pretty good run in the NCAA tournament because that would be really fun to watch. And obviously, I know it's tough trying to balance school with your personal stuff, and then also with softball. So hopefully, again, that works out, and hopefully, right field is treats
Yeah.
you well this year.
Yes,
So
yeah.
we'll definitely keep in touch. And again, I appreciate you for this.
Yeah,
And
thank
then
you.
we'll have another episode next week, same time. Not sure the guest yet, but obviously you guys will see that. And thank you.